Hey there, and welcome to another seated Tai Chi session. I wanted to start today's session by going back over commencement, the shoulder circles we did at the beginning of last session, but I'm going to do it from a side angle here so that we can really examine how the weight is transferred in the pelvis, forward and backwards, and how that affects the spine and the body overall in this movement. What we don't want when we're doing any movement in Tai Chi is this just moving the arms and not connected to the core of the body. These larger muscle groups are going to be the most efficient muscle groups, so we want them to be leading the movement and to have everything echoing out from that in a cascade, kind of like a whip. So when we move into this movement, the first move isn't anything to do with the hands. It is simply putting our weight forward in the pelvis and feeling how that kind of places my weight a little bit into my feet. So I start the movement, I lean forward, I roll the pelvis forward, and I allow that to throw my hands as if I'm whipping water off of my fingertips. The secondary portion of this movement, the downward half of the circle, I rotate my pelvis downwards and I sit back down into my weight, and I allow that as if I'm going to pull onto something to brace me for the downward portion of this movement. So there's a whip and a pull, and a whip and a pull. Just a gentle visualization to explain what is going on in the hips, what is going on with our weight, and what is going on with our spine. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. I just wanted to go over that before we touch on anything new today. And then, let me get centered a little bit here. And then we're going to move on to the next move, which is white crane spreads wings. So when we do the form, we typically do 3 of these in movement, and then we end up in this posture. We only do this movement once when we're doing the Yang 24 form, but since we're doing this as a seated practice, I figure why not go through the shape, and we can do it on both sides. And so you're actually getting a little bit more benefit doing it seated this way, because we get to examine not just the side that's done in the form, but the opposing side as well. So we'll just do this first. I'll explain the movement, and then we'll go into a recursive drill. And then I'll shut up a little bit and I'll let you just follow along. So starting on, we're going to hold the ball. Right now I've got my left hand on top. I've got my right hand on bottom. We're going to follow the right hand. We're going to rise, and we're going to come past the left hand. So with Wild Horse Parts Main, we kind of just opened up on this diagonal. This one, we're actually going to end up with our hands crossed a little bit. So I rise past that left hand, and then I open, and I turn on the 45 here, just looking slightly to my right in this case. And when I turn, I allow my radius and ulna to turn with me, pointing the palm in the direction I'm going to be facing at the end of the movement. And then I turn my body forward facing so that my heart is facing the camera in this case, or the origin of our movement. And the other hand is just going to draw a semicircle here, past the knee, and settle into a brush knee type posture. So we have one hand reaching up, one hand reaching down, as if I'm reaching into mud, and if I'm reaching upwards to grab something on a tall shelf. So what I want to do when I'm reaching with the tall hand, this one is the one that's going to give us the most grief, is I want to make sure I don't come up with my shoulder. I want to make sure I can stay connected to those large muscle groups we were talking about in the core. And to do that, I need to sink the shoulder blade backwards down the spine as my hand raises. It's kind of counterintuitive, but I like to think of it as a levering action. As my hand moves up, I have to sink my shoulder downwards. So I'm going to turn sideways for you again so you can kind of see what happens in my shoulder here. I'm going to do it wrong first. So I reach, and that shoulder comes up. Very subtle, but you can see how it ends up popping this to my ear. So I want to make sure instead I reach and that shoulder blade gently settles down the back. Nice softness in the elbow, shoulder is soft. I'm still able to extend through my fingertips, so I'm not going to cause any strain on the shoulder joint by reaching in this way. Whereas over time, cumulatively, if you get this shoulder to the ear over and over again, reaching for high things, you will cause damage eventually. And what we're trying to do is eliminate what they call stubborn strength, which is learned strength through habit that might not necessarily be super good for us in the long term. So we're trying to eliminate that stubborn strength and replace it with efficiency. It is a rewiring of the body, so give yourself grace. Just gently remind yourself when you catch yourself doing it, right, I need to sink that shoulder blade down.